Ethan, what is your schedule like today?
Let me just open it up. Uh, 30 minutes I could squeeze in.
When?
1:30 1:30 Eastern, which is
Well, it was 9:30 my time. Oh, we're on the
1:30
call, aren't we?
1:30 Eastern is, let's do 12, 11, 10:30 Pacific.
10:30. I think, okay, can I get on that half an hour with you, please?
Sure.
I can't tell if that design to build the manufacturing module is an hour or half an hour, but I just need maybe I can forward some stuff to you in advance. I'll see if I can do that.
Sure. What's the subject of the call?
Well, I want to go through the import and the parent-child relationship between customers and vendors,
Sure.
or not just specifically customers. I can't get the data to import.
Okay. No problem.
And I want to make sure that I've got the right system mapped out. It says it's doing it, and then it just doesn't. So
Okay. The CSV, if there's an error, it'll usually give you the error in the first column, like it'll identify the reason.
Yeah, no, it does. And I fix that, and then I move on, and then there's another one, and then I move on. But and then it says, okay, everything's all perfect, and then 0 of records imported.
Okay.
So that's I just kind of want to go through that and see if what I'm doing wrong.
No problem.
Aisha, do we have everybody? I know we have a large audience.
Yeah, no, we can keep going.
Okay. Okay, let me share my screen. Do you see my screen now?
Getting there. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I know where we left off yesterday as we were talking about the sales order. So we'll continue from there. I think it was let me just go to the one that I was doing. I think, I didn't realize there were so many more. I think this was the one I used.
Yeah, you were doing that Costco with the green straws in there.
Yep. I'm sure this is mine. Yeah, it is this one. Okay. So I know we went through the whole sales order process. So the last step would be, I think Costco is one of your EDI customers, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, let's just pretend this is a non-EDI one. So if you were, sending out, so I believe for the customers, for the non-EDI customers, we don't have any automatic email as requirement. So I would assume you're sending it manually, or do you need this to automatically be sent out to them, the order acknowledgement PDF, or do you not even send the PDF? You do, right?
For EDI?
Non-EDI. We're pretending like Costco is non-EDI.
Oh yeah, so non-EDI, we can the sales order and then hit the email button when it's sent out. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I can't remember if all the emails that we showed in other sessions, whether the same people were there, but essentially you would be clicking this email button.
Yeah, that was fine.
That's fine, right? They're aware. Okay, I just wasn't sure of the participant list, but yes, you just click email and then it takes out the default one. You can change the recipient and just email the one out. And any email you sent out, like we've been seeing in all the sessions, all of them will get listed down below. The email that you already see here, by the way, as part of I believe as part of the approval workflow, the internal email that goes out, is kind of what is showing here. So nothing has gone out to the customer yet because there's no automatic emailing. I believe this one is still being worked on, the PDF. I think right now what we have is probably the native one, but yeah, it's kind of what shows up. Again, I don't think we filled out a lot of, I don't think this customer had a lot of data, like the bill to ship to, so that's why all of these are empty. Again, I know this is a PDF.
That's what I'm working on. So I'm going to work on with Jason 10:30 now.
Gotcha.
Okay, because it's not populating right.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so that would be the next step. So once you have sent the customer the email out, the next step really would be in the process. If this were, like an item that you are making, of course, like the whole manufacturing process that we are not really getting into in this session. So for this session, I'm just pretending like all the manufacturing is already your inventory. So once all that is done and it is in your inventory and you want to ship it out, so you would be using WMS to like do the picking process. So Aisha, I was just checking with Jackie on where your conversation landed on the whole waves topic. So she did say you're kind of open to waves. So that's kind of what she said. It's up for discussion. So
yep,
right.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. So the way, again, if you're using WMS for picking, it is usually recommended to use waves so that you have control over what they are, what is truly important for them to actually pick, pack, and ship, and not just picking up any random order. That's why usually waves are more preferred for that reason. So in reality, you would probably not be releasing just individual orders on a wave. Right now, I don't think there are barely any orders in the system. I don't think there's anything else which is even committed. So we'll just go ahead and see what it shows up on the wave. So again, the navigation is just my admin one. I would assume this is some type of a manager doing this task. So I don't think you all have any default, I don't think you have any custom one that Jackie has created. So in the wave criteria, this is where you're kind of making a decision as to what you want to wave. Like I was saying, like maybe it could be based on the customer. I want to waive just this customer one, or I just want to waive based on the expected ship date. So
does the wave take into account the priority level set at the customer level?
So which priority have you set? Let me just see.
I haven't set it. I mean, I was starting to set them with the next input level, the next import load. But so if I'm setting the priority level of the customer, does that affect the wave level?
Can I
set wave by priority?
Like it won't automatically, from what I know. Yeah, by default, I don't think it takes that priority one. Is it that you want it to be like, is it that say there are some customers set at priority 1, some at 2, some at 3? So are you just saying it should take it ascending order that way, or you want to select and say, hey, send all the priority 1 ones? Will you be?
No, I was just asking if that was why that, because I know it says that the priority level is basically for the processing of the orders, but I didn't know if the wave was also tied to priority to that priority level. So I was just wondering what other functionality it offers. But essentially, most of the time, our waves are going to basically be by like orders that are shipping in the next 3 days. Right? Okay. So that they're really going to be more duration based or time based as opposed to like that priority. But I only just wanted to find out what the function of the priority was.
Yeah, I've never seen that happening. I can definitely look into it if you do want to do it that way. But
no, I was just asking. Most of the time we're just time based, right? But depending on when the order is expected to deliver.
Yeah, the ship date is here, so you can use that. And this page, by the way, we can add additional criteria. This is kind of driven by a separate saved search, and we can add additional criteria. So ship date, if that's what you do, that's already available. Yeah. The order priority, from what I have seen, is really more about commitment. Usually inventory commitment is first come, first serve, and then, you can also say, hey, I want to do it by order priority. That's where I've usually seen it. So it's most common.
Can I ask what the definition of a wave is? Sorry.
It's batching of it's the batching of the thing and of the orders that are going out. And then Isabella's going to provide a glossary of terms for everybody. So just kind of keep going with it.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, so the one I want to release is for K64. So I'm just changing that. I don't think I really have any, so I'm just going to say, show me everything. It's probably the only order. Yep, this is really the only one. There aren't many orders in the system, but in reality, you'll see a whole bunch of them based on your criteria. And you can just select, if you select the top button, it selects everything. If for some reason you don't want to select some of them, you can always uncheck specific ones and you're able to do it. Because this picking type single order, of course, does not mean it's a single order. It just means you're picking each order by order. That's all it really means. This doesn't mean you're sending only a single order out. This priority, by the way, is a little different. This priority just means this specific, you're assigning a priority to the wave. So, like suppose past, you sent a wave out in the morning and maybe you're sending another wave out in the afternoon or, whatever. There could be multiple waves or there could be multiple waves. Maybe they were waves sent out previous day itself and that people in the warehouse haven't yet processed or whatever. So this just means relative to them where the priority of this wave stands. If all of them were sent out with no priority assigned to them at all, and I want this one to kind of go at the top of the list because this is like super important or something, I can just say, priority 1 and it'll go above them. Whereas if I say, priority 4, if I've already sent out anything with 1, 2, 3, then this will go below that. But if everything I've sent out had no priority on it, this one will still come on top. So this is just used if you want to, send something out urgently or something. Otherwise, you really don't need to set any priority. It's just going to, go get into that list which already exists there. So I don't really need to use that. So this, I think picking type, you already said we want to, pick order by order. So it's really, each one separately, it's single order. If you remember, we spoke a little bit about multiple orders and everything where it combines the items of the common items across the orders, which we didn't really want.
No, we don't want.
Yeah, so single order would be the one. And then status, so this you can either put it in a pending release status or directly release it. If you put it in pending release, then you are able to assign these to like a specific picker if you needed that functionality, saying this has to be seen by the warehouse only by this specific person and they have to do it. Only then you put it in pending release and then assign it to someone. If you don't need to, you don't care who does it in the warehouse, you just set it to released. And so here it shows you the list of orders, and then here it'll show you all the line items corresponding to that. Again, my list is too short, it's just one order. It all looks like, okay, I can see everything, but you'd probably have like a whole bunch of it. If there was a reason that for an order for a specific item, for some reason you didn't want to release it out, you could always uncheck it. But otherwise, you just leave everything checked. All you do is here, if you don't have anything modified, this is single order by default. This is released by default. You don't need to do anything. You just click the check mark at the top, selects everything. You can just do save.
Can you click on line item again, please? Okay, so on this field, why does it give all of this bank information?
That's what this natively this is defined by.
Okay.
Yeah, from what I know, at least a couple of years ago, this was not modifiable. I don't know if they've changed it now. I can check. But yeah, this is just natively what they have. I have no idea why they have.
Yeah, I mean, it seems more sense that it would actually have inventory here instead if you're going to uncheck something to not release it in the warehouse, an item. So I am just wondering if we could make a note of somehow changing that, because no one's gonna, I mean, I don't want accounting stuff on this kind of thing.
Gotcha. Yeah, we can take a look. Jason, if you can just take a note of that, this line items one. Then I'm just going to click save. Okay, so now you can see it's been released. And this summary kind of there's nothing really to update right now. So it's just saying, there's nothing, this can update based on things happening in the scan gun, but right now it's just everything's released, to have been selected, that's all it says. So for if you wanted to use like the pick ticket which is associated with the wave, because you're using WMS, right? Otherwise, you have another pick ticket also in the system, which is at a sales order level. The sales order has its own pick ticket, which is native. Even if you didn't have the WMS module, you still have that pick ticket available. Whereas if you are using the WMS, because it's combined across multiple sales orders, there's a pick ticket associated with the wave. I don't think we have really modified this, but this is kind of what it shows up natively. It has like the item barcode, description, So if you did want to use it, you could. Otherwise, they can.
No one has sent me no one has sent me the sales order, the pick tickets, or any of the packing slips to actually start marking up and determining those. So I've only seen the purchase order and a bill of lading. So
okay,
I don't know what the native ones are supposed to look like, and I don't know what the WMS looks like either. So.
Okay, yeah, I think there were a few more in the list that Suraj and Natira were going to send. So I'll just have them send this one as well. Suraj, if you can just make a note to send this one.
Yep.
So this one, I think, by the way, I think, again, I don't think this is part of, I mean, you can just take a look, Suraj, and see once. I think this is not part of standard PDF. I think this uses advanced PDF code behind this. But yeah, either way, you can send it to Aisha, but just take a look if this has standard PDF or is it just advanced. So yeah. Yeah. So that would be the wave. Okay. So now you have, you've released the wave. You can, let's pretend you've printed that pick ticket as well and just handed it out to the warehouse. And
however, they will see this on their mobile, correct?
They will see this on their mobile. The reason this exists is it's just if you wanted, the most common user I've seen, I'm sure there are multiple other users, is if you wanted to add like some type of a custom field that you want to write or something, it is not recommended to customize WMS because it's not the greatest, it's not consistent, and it's pretty complicated as well. So it's really not recommended to customize that. So usually the workaround that NetSuite itself often suggests is like, hey, you want to add something else, just add it to here so that they can reference that in there rather than modifying the WMS fields. It's kind of more like that. Or it could also be that if you didn't want to assign them but you want people to look at specific, or maybe something's urgent, or you just want them to say, hey, hand this paper out and say these are the ones you need to pick, so that they can reference these and use pick those within the scan gun or something like that. If you have some specific reasons, that's the only reason to use this. Otherwise, yes, everything just shows up. If they don't need to know the order of things or anything, they can just pick anything randomly from that WMS screen, start picking. No paperwork is needed.
Yeah, because it's coming from the wave. So I mean, that's what we're trying to get away from all of this paper, is that they'd be able just to look in the scanner, see their current priority level of shipment, of orders to pick, and then that's what they work on, and we can start tracking like more details about their pick status, their pick accuracy, their timings and stuff. But so yeah, okay, as long as it's not required us to have to print this out, because we just want to make sure that
no, it's not,
because this is fine for them, but it gives us no information when they give it back.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
They're gonna want to turn it in, or they're gonna leave it around in the warehouse, and then it's gonna be like, well, what do we do with it? And so, and I don't want
to. They might scribble notes on it or something else, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna use it for scratch sheets and stuff. So to me, this is not going to give them. This wouldn't be something I'd have them pick off of. Let's put it that way.
Okay, yeah, then for now we won't really send you this. Let's just assume that we are doing paperless. Yeah, let's just assume we are doing paperless picking. Okay. So now let me get into the scan guns. Again, I'm just oops, sorry, give me 1 second. There's a pop-up that I don't see here. Okay. So
Karen, did Austin make it there?
sorry, Aisha, what was that?
Yes, Austin has been here.
Okay, good.
Okay. And I'm just opening like the emulator of the mobile app. This is what you would see on your device. Click on WMS. Again, I'm the admin, so I just see both of those things. And sorry, I keep forgetting which location this was. 64. Okay, so now I want to pick. So that is what I'm going into. And I did a single order picking. So they'll just always go into the released order, single order picking, sales order. Okay, so you can see here nothing else was released previously, and everything that was previously released was already worked on. And in the current wave, this is all I sent. There was no list, but otherwise this would show you like the whole bunch of things out from previous waves as well. And this is the order that I was talking about, that if something's sent with a high priority, it'll come up at a higher priority and things like that. With one order, nothing really matters. So this is where you can either, if you had some paperwork, you would really be scanning the sales order in here. But if it's not, you're just going to be clicking on the screen. Right.
Is there a way to remove the tasks column where it says 2, because that's basically number of items. Okay, good. And okay, yeah, perfect.
Yep.
Because I can just see what people are going to pick the fewest number of item orders, and they'll leave the longest ones for last.
Yeah, anything in here, you can certainly uncheck. If you're looking to customize anything more than that, you can certainly talk to Jackie, but I just do know that it's usually recommended, like, hey, not to do, because
yeah, no, that's fine. As long as you can turn that off for everybody.
Yeah. This one, I don't know if it does it only for the person doing it or if it does it for everyone. I think this is probably an individual preference. I don't know if it really does it across everybody, though, to be honest.
Well, when we set it up, we'll set it up.
Maybe initially when you set up, you just tell them all, hey, like, hey, uncheck this. So you can do that. So I'm just going to click this. You've got the big tasks. And then I see the first one. And so this will show me the recommended bin. Did you end up talking about picking strategy and everything as part of the setup with Jackie? I don't think you
We have that later today.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. So yeah, so whatever picking strategy has been set up, based on that, the bins will show up, assuming it's across multiple bins. But if it's really only in one bin, that's really all it's showing you. So I have that. And this is where, you scan the item, right? Everywhere it says, like I was mentioning yesterday, anywhere it says scan/enter, you can scan or you can enter. You have the item barcode right in front of you because you've gone to that bin. You just scan the item. For now, I'm just going to click this. And then you enter the quantity as well. And then you scan what the lot number is. So if you have the lot number on the barcode, that is, I don't really have, I'm just going to click this. This is the only thing that's in there. I'm just going to click this. I don't have any scanner. So this is the pick carton. Look like based on your setup, you have set up pick cartons as well.
So the carton is the pallet. So they're scanning it to the pallet number 1.
Oh, okay, this is the pallet one. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
Not to the carton.
Okay, because again, I'm pretty sure Jackie's spoken to you about this, but essentially in NetSuite, you have the pick carton, and then when you're doing packing, you have like the pack carton, and then you have the pallet loading. So that's why I wasn't sure if you're really using a pick carton or not, because the pallet comes in that next step there. So I don't know if you need this.
So we have to make sure that items are assigned to an actual physical location. We use the location of pallet as a place that it goes, because we don't sell any individual bottles. So if we don't sell the individual bottles, they have to go somewhere on the first step. And a lot of times, with the exception of some of the, the Costco's and McDonald's and, some other customers, things are kind of single pallet. So you'll have 75 cases on a pallet, but not 900 bottles.
Gotcha.
Because they don't pick it by the each, they pick it by the case. So
then in the sales order itself, you would have done it by the case, right? Like,
right.
You would have sold by the case itself, right? Yeah. I don't think these are set up right yet, like you said. So this
they're not set up at all right. Jackie knows that.
Yeah. So this should have been a case anyway. So if you are like, just pretend like I meant 75 cases here or something like that, right? Yeah. So it would have been cases up front itself, because you're not dealing with anything eaches on the sales side, right?
No.
I have a question real quick. So we do UPS orders and we pick eaches and like overages for certain customers. We include eaches. Is that going to be affected?
That will not be affected. You will still follow the same workflow.
Okay.
So when you say overage, you mean the sales order has something lesser and you will consciously pick more? Is that what you're saying?
No, they don't have overages. He's talking about web orders that they get, where they might, somebody places an order online and they order 12 bottles of something. So then he goes and then they'll go and pick one each to get to 12.
Gotcha.
I think also though, when, the customer orders 75, but they make 76 and 3 bottles, I think
That's a whole separate workflow.
Okay.
Okay, that's a whole nother workflow. This is just the picking one. It's on the manufacturing side.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Like I was saying, this is not the palette yet. We have not built the palette. This is just the pick carton. So I'm just going to say, just to differentiate it so you can see that and see if you truly need this pick carton or not. So for now, I'm just gonna, it's been turned on. So you have this pick carton. I'll just and I'm putting it to this. And then I'll do the next pick task, which was this item. Click that, same thing. Give me 1 second, did I? Oh no, this one also is only in 1 bin. Let me just, yeah, so this one, by the way, because my show all bins is turned on, if this item were in multiple bins, you'll see all the list here, and there'll be one thing called as a recommended bin at the top. Right now, all my quantities in one. Scan it, same way, quantity 1. I just scan this plot. And let's just see if I put it on the same carton. So this looks like your the outbound staging bin that you have, D114. Okay. So then you just go on to the next order, right? Like there is nothing, but that's how a usual picker would do, right? They'll probably just keep, if that person's in charge of picking, they're probably just moving it out to that bin and then continuing with the next one. So at the end of this, basically all that's happened is you've done the picking. So this is what ends up creating the item fulfillment record in NetSuite. Once you've picked everything for that order, it creates the item fulfillment in like a picked status. But for that, data has to basically communicate between the scan gun and WMS. This sometimes takes a few seconds. You won't instantly see it. Just refresh the screen and see if the fulfillment's been created. Okay, it has been created. Again, your warehouse person doesn't need to do this. I'm just showing you what happens in the system based on what they did in there. So this is the item fulfillment. You can see it's in a picked status. You can just see where the items were, kind of picked into. So you can see here, this is where it is. Okay. So this is where it's currently sitting. You can see here, this is what I was talking about, the pick carton. And by the way, if you are wondering why there is no expiration date on the other one, it's because when we were, let's say we were making the item, we just didn't put an expiration date. That's the only reason it didn't show up. We didn't add it, but if you had any, as part of your process, you're always putting an expiry date, you'll always see that. So everything is picked here in picked status. The next step would be, doing the pack, where you're kind of putting that into like your pallets and packing it up. So from what was kind of discussed when we were on site, I believe the pack station in NetSuite, I mean, it used to be called pack station. I don't think it has that pack station name anymore, but that's essentially what you're using if you want to put that into your pallets. So let me click on, so that's actually a separate application outside of the WMS. It's called as like Ship Central. So
59. Sorry, 64.
yeah, I think it was 64. Let me just make sure.
It was.
It was right there. Okay, so we're using the pack functionality here. Sales order. I'll pick what's in D114. Shows me all the sales orders. I really don't have any others here, but you can see again, when you are coming on the screen, you can either scan, it says either scan the order, scan the wave number, or scan the pick carton, or you just select this checkbox here. So I'm just going to select this, which tells me, this was the customer, all the details that is on the sales order, specific ones it's showing. Again, you are able to, uncheck if you don't want to see something, but this is pretty much most of the data. Select, enter order. Right, so the way it does it is like, you remember I showed you on here, there was like a pick carton that we already use as part of picking process, and then there's like a pack carton that this one has. By the way, this pick carton was the one which I was telling you was optional. I don't think the pack carton is optional, but the pick carton, it's turned on. That's why we already put it into a pick carton, and now this is referring to the pack carton. So let me just call this for now, just so you can see. If you had a carton number, of course, you'd be scanning it. I don't have anything, so I'm just calling it pack carton 1. Carton. And then I'm like packing these two into all the lot numbers. Just going to select this. This. So this is just making me scan lot number. If if it had multiple lot numbers and I want to put specific lot numbers onto it, I could. And then this is in the pack carton, and then you pack it, and this is where you can put like the carton weight if you want it. I think this one's made mandatory, so this does have the carton weight here. So I think you're anyway weighing it again during your packing process, right? You're not just relying on what's on the item master, I think you had mentioned.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Let's just say, I don't know how much this is going to be. I'll just say, you can fill in the other things as well. I'll just say pack the carton. Then if for whatever reason I wanted to delete and I made some mistake, I want to change some things, I could use these buttons at the bottom. I don't want to do anything. It's all packed into this pack carton. I'm good with it. So I'm just click next. Now I'm just going to add it to the palette.
Yeah, so we're gonna want to skip all. So this is we might have to go back a little bit. This is too much for them. They basically take the cases, they put them on a pallet. They're not going to pick or pack some of them. They're going to literally they're already palletized, some of those pallets too.
So the pick process you won't be able to skip, right? Because picking is what tells the system like, hey, take this out.
Okay,
right?
So the pick process, that's fine. I can send that to the
this one we should be able to edit it based on the rules. I think I'll check with Jackie on what she set up in here.
Yeah, the pack thing is going to be a little hard. This is already 3 steps for them to process this order, so it's too. We'll have to go through this, and you said that this is not necessarily customizable either, right?
No, there are rules, like you can't customize a screen, but there are rules that run things behind the screen. So like that pick carton in the picking process was like a rule, say use pick cartons, right? So there are specific things which are a rule behind the scenes, and we check and say we don't want. We can set that rule and say no. So I just don't know which ones are a rule in this, but I know there are definitely rules. So we can see in that what we can play around with and make this simple. Because all you're trying to do is take that, like you had a pick carton at the end of the picking process. You're just putting that into a pallet, right? You don't need another pack carton.
There are 2 unique workflows. So there's full palletized product that don't need to do anything except have the lot code scanned and then weighed and then assigned to the order. So that's one workflow process, and then the second one is the multiple cartons on a pallet. And that's that's where you'll have tasks is like 35, because there'll be 35 different SKUs that they have to pick. And so with the 2 different workflows, that we have to find the balance between it. So there's just one workflow for 2 different work streams.
Okay. So sorry, you went a little quick there. I just want to make a note. So for the fully palletized one, you just weigh them and it's already on a pallet. You're just weighing it and sending it out the door. This is kind of what you're saying, right?
Yeah, it's weighed. They just have to assign the lot code to the order or to the transfer sheet or whatnot. So that's very little work there. There's no assembly to create the pallet there.
Okay.
And then the second work stream that they have is when they have multiple items. So they'll have 35 tasks and they'll have to like go and, hunt and peck and find the item, scan it, scan the lot code, put it on a pallet. That is more the pack carton process, where as long as we're using carton as a nomenclature for pallet. But if you're saying we have to do the pick process, we'll have to send it to the staging area, which was at that D111 section. I think that area. So then they'd have to pick it to the staging area. From the staging area, they got to move it to a pallet, and then from the pallet, they're going to move it out through freight prop or through another process. So that's going to be a lot of work for them. So that's why I'm seeing three streams there. That doesn't seem that. So I'll need to figure out how to get that shorter for them when they have multiple items on an order.
Gotcha.
And that they, for one, when it's just one item on an order that's already palletized, they're not doing three steps for it.
Okay. So almost like you see for the fully palletized one, is there even a way to skip picking is almost a thing. It's almost like, I'm still picking because you're picking the pallet out, right? You're still picking a pallet. It's not like
you're still picking it, but I need to skip one. Whichever one is not required is the one that we're gonna have to skip.
Yeah. I think the the only thing I can see that you'll be able to skip in the picking part of it is assigning that that pick carton at the end. That one is, if it's not relevant, again, like you said, right, we need to find a common workflow because we're not going to have two separate processes for two separate, right? That pick carton step, honestly, I don't know if it's really relevant to you. That one I know we can definitely skip. That's through a rule. In this packing part, I'll definitely take a look and see what is skippable because I'm not sure of that. I'll just take a look and let you know.
All right.
Then we'll see. It's not the order. Okay. I'm just making a note there. Just gonna, so this was a pallet that it packed into it. It just automatically keeps incrementing. Last time when I was testing it, I was using pallet 2, I think. So just use pallet 3. You can put some of this information in here.
Well, if you were testing on another order, though, why would it come up with pallet 3 here?
Oh, my other orders, like it's auto-generating a pallet. Like for my other order, it said pallet 1, pallet 2. Now it's at pallet 3. So it's just auto-updating the number. It's like auto-generating.
Different orders?
Across different orders. Yeah. These are different pallets across different orders. So it's just.
But this is pallet number 1 for this order.
I've already used pallet number 1 on another one. You want to use pallet 1? Is that what you're saying?
That's my point, though. For this particular order, this order could be 5 pallets, right? I mean, you don't, the 20 cases, you don't know how big they are. It could be 5 pallets. So I would have.
This doesn't start like nomenclature 1 again from the beginning. That's kind of why it's like pallet 1 and 2 have been used on other orders. Now this is 3, 4, 5. That's what it's doing, but I can still see if it can help me reuse it and still keep it separate. We can try.
Huh. Because one order will be 30 pallets, so we're going to be up at like pallet 5,000 in like 3 days.
Gotcha. Let me just see if it allows to do that. So pallet size, again, pallet sizes, if you were using all that has to be. Did you end up talking about the setup of all this?
No, we have not. So I'm going to suggest we table this because I've not talked. This has not been gone through with anybody on the design side.
Okay. Because I thought as per agenda, I saw on like Monday or Tuesday where you had a WMS session, so I assumed you've gone through all of this. Okay.
There was no she did just show us and she set a few fields, but certainly not this many fields because they're not going to go here and scroll down and select units, pound versus everything else. These things already have to be populated, so these are not set up.
Yeah, okay. I will check with her as well as to when that's done. For now, I'm just going to just click add palette and just complete the process so we can go ahead with the next step in that. I'm just going to say, I just say add palette. What did this do? Let's see. Did it pack it? I'm just wondering because I used the same one, did it not pack it? Because it shows nothing under palette 1. Maybe it didn't, but I'll just real quick. Okay. I just need to click back again. So it's packed into this. Just click next. Yeah, just so you know, most clients don't end up liking the packing station, whatever the app that NetSuite provides as part of Ship Central. So a lot of people, when they have like a shipping software, I don't know if FreightPop does that or not, but a lot of people, like, when they use these shipping software like PageJet and things like that, they often end up using that software itself to kind of like pack and ship is what I've seen. But of course, you have this option. If we can make this work for you, you could definitely do this. Again, worst case, you're always able to do it in ERP, by the way, but I don't think you want to do that. I think we should be able to find a middle ground for you, even if there are a few extra clicks. I think we should be able to make it work for you for this app itself. Now I have put that, pallets have been packed. Let's go to the staging. It's only really one outbound staging that I have, so it's still, even after it's packed, that's why it's not showing me any other bin. I do the packed stuff, then it would show me that also, but right now I just have only one outbound staging. So that's what it says. It's been staged to the same bin. Complete packing. Now it goes to the next same screen to just say, okay, what's the next order you want to pack type of thing. I'm not really packing anything else. So now again, that pack station app essentially should have communicated the data to item to ERP and updated the status here to packed. Let's just see how quickly it does that. Okay. Now you can see here at the top, the status is packed. And if I go in here, so it has a field for, it doesn't have a field for the pallet. It only has a field for the pack carton. Show up here. Yeah, it shows up in one of these tabs. I have to check where it shows up. But yeah, this inventory detail, which we pretty much can't customize, really only shows you the pick and pack carton. So now it's packed. So in the real scenario, when you have FreightPop and everything set up, ideally, I would think that's how usually the third-party softwares work. They usually have a way to pick. They look out for, if they're looking only for, if you're only doing shipping through that system, they usually just only look for item fulfillments in the packed status, and that's kind of what they pull. Typically, what we see is such systems have saved search. Again, I know we haven't spoken to FreightPop yet, but I would assume they're pretty similar to that. So they'll just keep looking for, they'll keep running a saved search, which keeps looking for item fulfillments in pack status and then pulls that data over and shows it to you on the screen there. Again, this is a Suite app. So from what I know, it's just going to be another tab here, like how you see my fixed assets and things like that. You'll usually see something called FreightPop, I think. And that's where it should show you all that data. So it should just be able to quickly pull it. For now, since we don't have FreightPop, I'm just going to ship it from NetSuite, which would anyway be your backup in case ever something goes wrong. You're probably going to ship, but again, I hope that doesn't happen. But for now, let's pretend there is no FreightPop. I'm just going to ship it. There are multiple ways of doing it. Again, since we're not going to do it through ERP, I'm not going to take you through all the ways, but just know that there is another place here where you can bulk market and ship. Again, this should be done by FreightPop because they're going to do all your freight, figuring out how it should go and your cost and whatever else that it's telling you. Just so you know, FreightPop is the one which is always at this point where I am right now, right, where I've not gone into FreightPop yet. The data is still sitting in NetSuite. You don't know how you're shipping it, or you already know how you're shipping. You just don't know the cost. Or is FreightPop?
So we, for some customers, we'll know how we're shipping it. And for other customers, we still have to go out and arrange the freight and get the cost for it. And
Gotcha.
for some customers, we just need to make a BOL. So yeah, we have to use FreightPop or something like of the sort.
Gotcha. Yep. I think FreightPop would be the one. I would assume based on your demos that they do what they need you to do. So I think before it goes to FreightPop, I think the two things that you did say you will likely print from NetSuite is the packing slip and the bill of lading.
So the thing is, FreightPop has all of that, and they actually did have the packing portion of it too. So I'm hesitant to say because FreightPop was printing out packing slips, invoices, not invoices, sorry, packing slips, and other things. So it was also packing the order, I think.
Okay, I would honestly say let's explore that one first before we try to customize the NetSuite one, because usually these third-party software, since their focus is completely, their whole product is about packing and shipping, they usually make it much easier than the amount of effort NetSuite puts into making it easy. So yeah, I would say then in that case, if that's okay with you, then we won't change anything on the pack station yet. Maybe we take a look at Freight Pop and see if that works for you. And then if you make a decision like, hey, that doesn't work, I want to do it in NetSuite, then maybe we can customize if that works.
Yeah, so the only issue I'm having right now, and maybe you guys can plug a thing with Freight Pop, is we can't get them back on the phone again because we don't have a next meeting with them, and it's getting a little.
I just scheduled it for Wednesday.
You've scheduled it for Wednesday now?
Wednesday at 9 a.m.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Yeah, just let us know if you start having those problems. We can just see if we have a sales contact or someone, and Adi can kind of, get on that sales contact and,
Yeah, because if they're not a little more responsive, we might have to look for another one because I'm not keen on waiting these 3 weeks in between every phone call here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely not ideal, especially to kick it off. I feel like that's where they should be really enthusiastic to start doing it. So yeah, just let us know if you need us to reach out to them, and we can. Okay, so let me just make a note that for now we're not really changing the pack station. We'll just wait on seeing what ability Freight Pop has. Okay, so you're saying, of course, if you do the packing from there, of course, it would make sense that you would print the packing list and BOL from there. But just so you know where it exists in NetSuite, in case we need to come back to using that, you do have this print icon. You can also print it in bulk. This is just a native one. I don't know if this was sent across to you or not. Again, if we are looking at Freight Pop, then I would say let's not try customizing this yet until you make the decision as to from which system you're doing the packing. Because whichever system you're packing, you would print the packing from there. But this is just what you have in NetSuite. And then the bill of lading. I believe this one was sent out to you, I think, and probably we did get some feedback. So we probably started on that already. But we can pause that as well if there is a probability that you might use Freight Pop. We can't pause on it if that's what you want. But then, yeah, this is kind of what the bill of lading looks like.
Yeah, they did not make the changes I asked for, so yeah.
I think that's probably still in progress. Okay. So, okay. Do you want us to pause on that until you talk to Freight Pop? Are you sure that you'll be using bill of lading from NetSuite?
I have no idea. I mean, I'm pretty sure if Freight Pop works, we're gonna have to use their bill of lading.
Yeah. So I'm just asking, do you want us to pause on this until you make that decision? Or do you want us to continue customizing the forms? These two forms, I mean.
I think you should just customize it in case we do need to have a bill of lading from here and bypass Freight Pop.
Gotcha. Okay. Yep. Then the team will continue on that. And if they have any questions, I believe Suraj is working on this. So if he has any questions, he'll reach out back to you.
So because that would just allow us to print out a blanket thing, especially if we know that the customer's coming to get it.
Mm-hmm.
We can print it out from there natively. So that works fine too.
Gotcha. Yep. We can certainly customize this. So for BOL, I don't think there is any bulk page or something. So this is, you just basically go into each fulfillment and kind of print it out. So that's what you have. So ideally, whichever system you're packing out of, you pack it and then you print the BOL and then you print the packing slip. Then the next step would be shipping. And even if you do packing here, of course, shipping would be from Freight Pop. For now, I'll just mark it shipped so I can go to the next step. Okay, so let me just check one thing. No, nothing's gone out. Just gonna click mark shipped here for now. Okay, 1 second. Let me just open this customer. I just want to check one thing. I know we're pretending like this is a non-ADI customer, though in reality it's CDI. I just want to check one thing if it will work for what I need to show you. Okay. Yeah, we haven't really marked this EDI customer or something. I think we added this checkbox later on. I don't think it was part of the initial, it was not really part of the initial template. While we were creating certain workflows, we realized that we need to. Again, Suraj, Jason, if you can just make a note to kind of add this checkbox to the CSV template, because I don't think it would exist there. That would help because a lot of workflows are using this EDI checkbox. So I have set it to shipped. Get the communication now. Yeah, this was a non-EDI one. Again, I don't know if Atira is on the call or not, but Suraj, if you can just take a note and check with Atira about the shipping notification email. So I know she was having some problems with it. She asked me to retest, but I don't think it's working again. So if we can just ask her to, that'll help. So essentially what's supposed to happen is, since we are pretending this is a non-EDI customer and we don't have this EDI checkbox anyway checked, once you ship it out, it is supposed to send that shipping notification email out, and you're supposed to see that down here.
Yep.
So that's what it's supposed to do. So it's not doing that right now, Aisha. So again, that would be only for non-EDI. So you don't have to worry. For EDI, of course, they're not sending it because you have your whatever that EDI number is, which sends out that information. So that's about the shipping, the fulfillment process. The last thing that would be involved in that is, I know that was a gap that we had that was identified, and that one's of course not ready yet. The warehouse control manual that we were talking about, I know that is something that it's supposed to be generated from, it is supposed to be generated before you ship it out, right? That's what you're kind of inspecting that truck or whatever and sending it out before you send it out, right? So I would assume this is the place where we have like the button and we print it out of.
Correct.
Yeah, so that is something we'll be working on. So you should have that soon. Is there any question on this whole shipping process other than the questions we've already discussed? Is there any other questions on this shipping process?
No. So I think that going from, so we haven't seen the manufacturing module, which I think is part of the problem here, but going from the order to the wave to the picking, I think we're there. We have a lot of murkiness with pick and pack and staging, and figuring out which NetSuite native, WMS or Freight Pop is going to do that. So there are a lot of questions, but I think we're just going to have to table them until we can identify really specifically which workflow we're going to go with. I do want to say that from the releasing of the orders in the wave fashion, most of that just does need to be showing the inventory. And what I'm not seeing is whether or not inventory is on hand for a particular order to be released. So
it shows up, that's native, by the way. It shows up on Wave only if there's inventory. So that's behind the scenes. If there's no inventory, it won't even show up on the Wave. Like that's just how NetSuite is built. So anything that shows up on a Wave means inventory is there and it is committed to that sales order.
Well, I get that, but in order to select the item for the Wave, right? To select the transaction for the Wave, that's where I'm missing because right now it's a very detailed process. Karen spends a lot of time going through each order, each line item. Do we have the inventory? Do we not? Can she release it? Blah, 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 right? But I'm not seeing here, before you set up the Wave, how can you tell if your transaction has its inventory in full?
But that's what I'm trying to say, right? She doesn't need to do that because the minute she says create a Wave, she goes to that Sage search criteria, says I want to ship everything out, which is say today ship date, right? You click on that.
How does she find out the exceptions? That's fine, I get it. Then how does she find out which orders that are scheduled to ship within that thing but don't have the inventory?
Yeah, we can have a separate save search for that. Yeah, we can have a save search which shows you things which have a ship date of today and which have some back ordered lines. That we can certainly have as a separate save search so she can check the exception. So
yeah, so because that's where it's you drown in the exceptions really, or the stuff that didn't ship. The other you're assuming everything ships, but you want to know what's not.
Let me see. There's one native one. Let me see if we can just we could even customize that one to, I think, sort of back order report. We might just be able to, I don't know if that has ship date, but I think we could probably customize that itself to look at ship date as well. Yeah, we'll see which works better. Either we can add the ship date to this one, or we just create like a separate saved search. We'll see what works better. But yeah, that data we can certainly provide you. So Jason, if you can just make a note of that. Yeah, that we can certainly do. Is that the whole packing one? Yes, I totally understand the murkiness, and like we'll just pause on trying to make that work until you at least make a decision on if you want to do freight pop or pack station. The PDFs we'll certainly still continue customizing it, but the pack station itself we'll just hold off until you at least have that first call with freight pop and maybe figure out which is a better system for you. Just so.
No, we got that. So, Sucheta, going back to the releasing an order. If you want to release the order and you unselect the item because you said don't pick that item, where does that item go? Is it creating a back order? What's it creating?
No, back order just means, so if you don't, so in NetSuite back order just means nothing is committed to it, right? There's no commitment. So just because you don't release it on a wave, it doesn't mean the commitment that already happened is going to go away. It's just going to sit with the commitment, and the next time you try to release a wave with the same criteria, it will still show up. It just means it was excluded from the wave. So nothing happens to the commitment. The commitment still remains. It's still out there, ready for you to actually release it on a wave. So I come back here.
Let's say work from a workflow. Whatever, I release those 2 items to the warehouse. Now on Tuesday next week, the product has been made on Monday. It's released on Tuesday. I want to release that 3rd item for the wave. I will want to know from a transaction side, if you release it to the warehouse and then they're picking it, they have to have a separate workflow for holding that pallet or that order there for the next item, right? So I guess that's the separate workflow for them. Okay, never mind. I got it.
Okay,
I got it.
Yeah, so just know that commitment and wave really, like, wave doesn't affect the commitment. It's just that commitment affects wave. Only if it's committed, it shows up on wave. But just because you don't include it on wave, it doesn't remove the commitment. So whatever you would have seen originally, yes, I think that I haven't refreshed the screen yet. That's why it's still showing you the commitment. Once I refresh, this will go away. This committed remains irrespective of whether you have released it yet on a wave or you haven't. That still remains unless you go and reallocate it to another order or something explicitly, which you can do if you ever needed to. If you wanted to change, like saying, hey, this is allocated to this one, but I don't want to, I want to change it. By the way, you do have a screen called reallocate items. There you are.
Well, this is the one where Jackie said if you started that on the mobile, then you cannot do it on the UI.
Yeah. The reallocate should happen even before you even go into the mobile. Like it's not something. Yeah. It has to be done even before that. Like this is even before you release the wave. When you see something show up, this would ideally happen when you are on the create wave screen, right? You say create wave, and then maybe you are looking for like, hey, I want this order to show up, and it doesn't, or something like that, or it's off definitely before. Yeah. You do not want to make changes in ERP after something has been released out to the scan there. Yes, that is definitely true. So I'll be more behind before that. Okay, I don't really have any orders to reallocate, but this is what you would be doing.
Yeah, I'm trying really hard to get you proper ship addresses and proper items in here. So I'll sort that out with Jason today because I'm struggling to get this stuff in now. Because the data's gotten a little bit messed up, so I want to clean it up a little bit and get proper information in there so we can make better orders and have have everybody start to test this a little bit.
Gotcha. Yep, understood. So I just came to the sales order just to show you at this point what it shows. I just refreshed the screen. Previously it said pending fulfillment, and now once I ship it out, until I ship it out, it will continue to say pending fulfillment. By the way, even if you have picked and packed, like
pending
there's no
fulfillment or pending billing.
Pending, it'll say pending fulfillment at that time. Once you haven't shipped yet, if you have just picked and packed, you haven't shipped yet, like there's no separate status among them. That pick pack ship was only a status on the item fulfillment. The sales order will continue to say pending fulfillment until you have marked it shipped. And essentially, until you've got it out the door, it will continue to say pending fulfillment. It's just that here you will be able to see. If I have only picked and packed, I'll see the row here for picked and packed, and then shipped would say 0. Right, so that's how you'd know. Once shipping has been completed, that's when kind of it, changes and says, okay, I'm done with shipping, so now the next step is pending billing. So that's what it does. And of course, like we were showing yesterday, all transactions in NetSuite, whichever are supposed to be connected, you will always have linkage to them. So I go to the related records, I can see the wave, the fulfillment. Similarly, from the fulfillment, I can see the wave, the sales order, it's up here. It just depends on where it is. It's either on the related records or you might just find it up here itself directly in the created from. But just know that they're all linked together. Again, I want to reiterate, I'm not saying the warehouse needs to come in here and keep checking anything, but just for you to know, just for management, if they want to check things or accounting wants to check something, this is just how they would navigate the transactions. So once you are done with shipping, so this is where we said that the next step would be billing. And I think that's the one we were discussing yesterday as well, that this is what would happen, with the nightly process, right? Whatever time you want to set it. I know you said they're out pretty early. So, we can just set it late in the night in case, you or some other manager wants to check it before the invoice is generated. If you want to look at the fulfillment and everything, we can just set that nightly operation to be later in the night. So all that the nightly operation will do is it will check everything that is in the system, which is in a pending billing process, in a pending billing status. It's just going to create the invoices for them. And if it's a non-EDI customer, it should really be emailing that one out as well. And of course, only for non-EDI. We of course don't generate it for EDI. So for now, I'm not gonna wait for the billing operation to run. I'm just gonna manually create it for now. So just know that you do have that option. For whatever reason, if you don't want to wait till night, they need an urgent invoice or something like that, even though there's a nightly operation set, you are able to manually create this. And if you have already created it, NetSuite will not again create it at night. It's not like there's going to be a duplicate or anything. So just for your knowledge, I don't know if you'd ever do that. For now, I'll just click on the bill button. And you can see here, it just picks all the same information from the sales order. All this header information, everything is the same. If you had a memo there, it would have all popped up. I don't think I have a customer PO number. That's why it's blank. If you did, it would show up here. And you can see here. So what the items that it pulls, like if you are doing like partial shipments, it'll only show you lines which have been shipped out. So if the order had like 5 lines and only 2 were shipped, you'll only see 2 lines on the invoice, which is what you would want. So that's what you see. And it does typically don't need to do anything because all the information is out there already. Regarding the shipping charge, of course, we need to check with FreightPop as to where they are populating it to make sure it does pull in. Because if you were using native, I don't know if they use the native fields, honestly, to populate the freight charge and everything. Natively, if it's usually, or what I see, even third-party apps usually populate is under this shipping tab. You have, I'm supposed to have a shipping cost here. Why is it hidden? Let me just click edit. Huh. I need to check why this is gotten hidden. But essentially there's like a shipping charge field here. This one's not the one. This one is a custom field that came over from an app. We'll hide this. I'll take a look at why it's not seen here, but you'll basically see a shipping charge field out here, and this kind of goes on to invoice automatically. That's what NetSuite does. If FreightPop is going to be populating it in some other field, then we likely need to kind of copy it over onto this field so that it just pops over natively on here. And you mentioned that the 15% markup that we were talking about yesterday would be done by FreightPop itself. So when they are populating the shipping charge based on the rule, or whether it needs to be added or not, they should do the math. They'll be doing the math and populating that field. Get pulled over here, automatically you get it. So it would pop up in, okay, I need to check. It's only that specific field which is getting hidden everywhere. Let me just take a look at why that is. Okay, thought I saw it yesterday. Okay, so either way, you should have both the shipping charge and any line items which are on the sales order, and you just click save again if you were doing it manually. But again, if it's the nightly operation, all it does is it generates this. It doesn't do any other. It just pulls data from the right places and it just generates the invoice. And the requirement was to not have any invoice approval process and for it to be automatically posted. So once this is saved, it gets posted, and that's why you see the status of open. If we did have a approval process, this would have said pending approval and it wouldn't have gotten posted yet. I know Chad isn't here, so we won't really go into the GL impact or anything, but this is what you see. And I believe, I can't remember if this one's been customized or not. Okay, I think it's been slightly customized, but.
No, I haven't received any of this.
Oh, you haven't received this?
No.
Okay.
I haven't
Suraj,
received the sales order, the invoice, the packing slip. I haven't received any of these things. I only received purchase order.
okay.
Aisha, do we want to approve the invoice before it's sent out?
You have approved it. It's just, you don't need to do it again and manually send it out.
When did I approve it?
When it came back from Freight Pop.
Oh.
It's the workflow is built in.
Okay.
You would have reviewed the item fulfillment. That's the only difference. You wouldn't have reviewed the invoice because invoice wouldn't have gotten created. What is the same information transferring over? So whatever correction, if you had made in item fulfillment, it would have anyway gotten onto the invoice. So yeah, that's kind of why you're not reviewing the invoice as such. Okay, Suraj, please make a note to send out all these PDFs that we haven't sent. Yeah, I thought, apologies, Aisha, I thought we already sent all these out. So we'll make sure to send these out.
Yeah, no, I've sent you all of our current ones.
Yeah, we have some, when we initially started customizing, we looked at all the ones that you had initially sent to just, not really to replicate the format or anything. We were just trying to get as many fields in as possible, which can be done through standard PDF, which doesn't need, like, what do you call, advanced PDF coding or anything. So we just try to do
but
that.
the thing is, I'm gonna need to fuss with this because I'm a real picky person for how the stuff looks.
Okay, because if you want a lot of formatting changes, we just need to switch over to advanced PDF, in which case we need a coder because it's like some free marker and HTML. It's a combination of free marker and HTML coding.
No, but I mean, I think it's I don't think you need advanced PDF to make Eagle Beverage on the same height as invoice.
Yeah, not those. I thought
so that's what I'm
about
saying.
format.
Like some of these things are just, they come out natively and they're kind of weird, so they will need to be adjusted. So, they need fixing. Also, I don't. So anyway.
Yep. Yeah, we will make some basic adjustment like here.
Yeah, but make the basic adjustments based on what I've already sent is the point. So, like
I understood that. Yeah, like I said,
information that is currently there, that needs to be accommodated before you just send me what's coming out natively, because I've sent it, you guys took it, I think, in January, and then I've sent it again just a week or so, or 2 weeks ago. Ahilan did it. So we've sent it again with all of what it looks like, the pallet label tag, the assembly tag, all the commercial documents, the COAs, all of this stuff is, you guys have that. So, try and use that before you send me the first draft of anything, please.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's kind of what we are doing. That's what I've instructed Suraj and Atira to do.
Okay.
Suraj, make sure we do that. Make sure we make, like some of these are obvious, right? It says ... So it's an obvious thing that we need to change the, move it around and things like that. Let's make sure we add all of it. And if there are some data in that in the PDF that Aisha sent that we can't source, make sure when you're sending it across to her, just let her know that couldn't be sourced through standard PDF or whatever. So just let her know if there is something we can't source as such if it's there. So let's do that first round of due diligence before we send it out. So, but the invoice, by the way, invoice one, I was just thinking, Aisha, based on the whole delivered pricing concept of hiding and not hiding certain fields, like, how you need to put the freight on the same line, all that type of coding will anyway need advanced PDF. So I'm just thinking invoice might as well be an advanced PDF. So this one, I don't think there's a point in us customizing in standard PDF. That's what I was thinking yesterday based on our conversation.
Well, can you scroll down? Because like I said, I haven't even seen this list. So here it just says total and amount due. So it doesn't even have a line up for freight.
It will show freight if I had a freight. For whatever reason, that freight column itself is hidden, field is hidden. So if I did have the field, it would show up here. So it would not be conditional hiding. I'd have to always hide it on the form or never hide it. It will not do the math and say, oh, if it's hidden, then I need to include it in the item line or something like that. So
Okay. I don't yet. I mean, and that's fine. There's a simpler, I think there's a simpler way to do that on this form, but we can figure that out. Now, the thing about the invoice is, I think we postponed having the Slim CD if you want to pay by credit card, like here's your invoice, click here to pay now. Like that's something that I know I haven't sent that on any existing form, but that would be some custom text that we'd want to put on the PDF. So that people can just automatically be clicked to, thing on to click the thing and go to pay their invoice directly.
Oh, so you want like a payment link set up?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Let me make a note.
Or we'll put it in the body of the email when they get emailed their thing.
Okay. There is a payment link feature. I just need to take a look at it. If that's available, then we can just have that pop up here automatically. But if that doesn't really work, yes, as part of your invoice template, because you will anyway be setting up email templates for everything. So I'll let you know if it doesn't work here. Then as part of your email template, you can put it in a subject. Let's just see whatever's easier. Yep. Let's take a look. Oh, the other thing I would just want to ask now that we just spoke about the delivered pricing. So if this were like the delivered pricing one where you don't want freight to show up separately, so if the freight charge that was on the fulfillment is say like, $20 or something, to which line should it add if there are multiple lines? Are we just like adding that across these to show them the total?
So if the delivered price is delivered, then this freight cost is going to be 0. On the back end side, we're going to have the freight charge is going to be 0, but the freight cost will be populated in NetSuite with an actual cost amount.
Yeah, the cost is fine. I'm asking about the freight charge that freight pop will send. Will they make sure it is 0, or we just need to ignore it altogether?
Like, if there's a freight thing, it goes right under. If there is a freight charge with an upcharge right under, well, again, so this is. So look again at our invoice, because we have down at the bottom, subtotal, tax, miscellaneous, freight, total, right? So you don't have a line item here before total for freight, because freight is not evenly technically Eagle has not evenly distributed the freight across the line items. It's just it's a charge per transaction.
Yeah, so if it is delivered pricing, I don't need to do any math. I just have
Even
to
if it's not delivered pricing, we're not allocating it over the line items. It's, you can do the math and write the script to say if this thing is 2 eaches and the freight was $10 and that's $5 per item to ship. Like if you need to do that, that's, I guess, okay, but we wouldn't recommend that. We just want a one line item down at the bottom that says $10. So instead of 82, it's 92.
Yeah, no. I'm talking about so I get that. So that is for the non-delivered pricing, right? And the freight would just show 10. So if it is delivered pricing and the freight, so you're not even putting that 10 at all, right? So I don't even need to. So the way we understood it at one point is if it is delivered pricing, you will not show the $10 separately, but on each line item itself, you will distribute and say, okay, first line would say instead 45 and the second line would say 47. So that is not true. It'll
that
just
is
continue
true on the GL side. That we still have to accommodate the cost of goods. So it's from a costing perspective and the margin perspective. We need to know what that freight was as a delivered cost. So it's a GL function to allocate the freight over the total number of cases shipped.
Okay, but we're just sticking to the PDF first. So from their perspective, they're just here. They're not going to even see that $10 distributed across, right? They'll still see the first line item as 40. They'll see it as 42. You're not really charging them 45 and 47, correct? Just making sure of that. It's just a blind $0 freight. It's not even that it's behind the scenes being added to them and nothing like that. It's not being added at all. Okay.
No, but from our margin, our margins are getting squeezed with that delivered pricing. So that's why we have to account for it there. So there's only a thing in NetSuite that if the one box has a dollar value in it, that's the freight cost or freight charge that gets put on the invoice. If it's blank, nothing goes on there.
Gotcha.
And the work is on the back end side so that we can have a true cost of goods sold. Hello?
Yep, I'm just making a note, sorry. Items, so. Okay, I just think we have this note already, but just make sure I have it. Okay. So so that's about the invoice. So noted on that front. Let me just take my notes. Let's see. So is there anything else that we need to talk about invoice before we move to the next topic? Or did we cover everything?
I mean, I think for now that's probably fine.
Okay. Okay. So the next thing, the next topic that we want to cover here is, I think you did say as part of at least our discovery that you will use the special order PO functionality. I know you won't be using the drop ship PO functionality. Like there's never anything that a vendor is directly gonna ship to your customer. So that functionality we're not really gonna use. But the special order PO, where only when there is a sale, you're actually kind of purchasing that item from the vendor. So a PO is created for that specific sales order to the vendor, and then they get you the item, you add it to inventory, and then you fulfill it. You did say you would be, it's a feature that some people call just in time. You did say you'll be using that. Is that correct?
Yeah.
You would be using that, right? So do you have an item in the system which would be applicable for that? Do you know?
They didn't, they didn't put in the item, so,
can I use just any one of these for now then?
yeah, you can use a well, yeah. So this is an item that we don't manufacture, so that's why we order it. It's the customer places the order, we place the order with the vendor then ships it, we fulfill the order.
Yeah, that's why I'm on the list of inventory items. So these are.
Yeah, so I pick a straw, I guess, is the best thing you could do.
Let me see if the straw has been. Yeah, I think all the straws have been set up as assembly items because you make them.
Yeah, so
I just use any random item.
I think somebody set up like just a test inventory item. It's not like
I'd rather not do that. Yeah, I'd rather not use any test items. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, we don't want to use test items for these. I'll probably just. Can I just use what was it? I saw some oil of cassia or something. Can I just use this for now?
Sure.
Yeah. So, and before I create the transaction, so in the case of a true item where you have set it up, would that be where? Remind me again. I think would that always be a special ordered item, or would it only be special ordered sometimes and sometimes you're just fulfilling it out of your stock, or is it always ordered from the vendor?
There might be two workflows for that. The use case that I had in mind was just generally the stuff we order from overseas, specific to a customer for placing the order or for their buy plan. So that was one use case. The second use case would be anything that is a custom private label item. So this is proprietary to the customer, right? That's a part of that proprietary conversation that we had. But yeah, let's just go with the first use case where we have the order that it's a 3-month lead time. We have time to place the order with the vendor and get it in.
Okay. Yeah. So if it's completely two separate items which are following the two use cases, that is fine. All I want to say is for a given item, if it could be done either from your if it could be either sometimes from your stock, sometimes from vendor, if it's a sometimes type of a scenario, then you want to make sure that you don't select this special order item checkbox, because if this is checked, then that means every time it is on a sales order and the sales order is approved, the special PO will automatically get created. So if you don't want that, if it's only at times, you want to make sure that it is unchecked and you click the link to create the special PO as and when you need it on the sales order.
Okay, yeah, so there will be occasions where sometimes we will mix a manufactured product with I get this. So yeah, okay. So it's really only like 2 items. Okay.
Yeah. So if you wanted to always, by the way, just one last note on that, if you always wanted to get ordered, then you'll check this box and you have to set, if you check that box, since you want NetSuite to automatically create the PO, when you approve the sales order, NetSuite needs like the preferred vendor and everything set up. In that case, by the way, I know this is not the right item, but just so you know, you'll need to set up a preferred vendor and a preferred price so that NetSuite can automatically go pick that up and send that PO out. So for now, we'll just show you how you would do it if you are manually clicking the link and doing that. So this item is perfect for that because it's not been set up to automatically send a PO.
Are you still on Oil of Cassia?
Sorry, what was that, Aisha? Is that for
No,
me?
was the item still Oil of Cassia? But that's fine.
Yeah, it is the Oil of Cassia. Apparently, it's on the display name. It's not on the, yeah, it's the Oil of Cassia. Can I just select any of your customers here, or
Yep.
is this
Allegro maybe?
Allegro? Sorry, I lost Allegro. Okay, it's right here. It's just taking a second to select. Okay. I'm just gonna say some testing. This time, let me just put a PO number. Just PO number. Let's say this is, let's say case, maybe I say K59. Again, like we saw with the other sales orders, any data from customer just defaults. Item in. Since I know it, I'm just literally just copy pasting. Otherwise, of course, you could select it from the list. Yeah, it's just telling you that you have none available. I don't think you have any. Yeah, I don't think sales pricing is set up on any of it. So that's kind of why it shows up as custom. What's a realistic rate, Aisha, for this one?
$1.
Sorry, how much? $1? Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's per gallon, so
Yeah.
never mind. So $4 a gallon.
Okay. Still. Okay. For now, I'm not gonna, again, you know, the same concept, ship date, all of that is same concept. I'm not really getting into that again, but shipping address, same concept. Flows from customer, otherwise you update it here. And let me just say, did I need to select anything else? Let me make sure. Okay, so there is no, if this item had been something where this checkbox, sorry, where's my checkbox? This checkbox that I was showing you, the special order item, if this had been checked where it means that it's always going to go get sent out, you would see this under, oops, sorry. Under, okay, I guess I can't really edit it here, but you would see this here, there'll be a drop down that kind of has the value special order already selected here. I don't really have that flag, so it's not selected. There's nothing in there. So this sales order should not create any POs for now until I manually initiate it.
Okay.
Save, I believe there's a approval process. So again, I'm the admin, so I see the whole approve reject button.
So if we put in the order and they've ordered, 500 cases of this item that is a special order item and generates a PO, and then they've ordered some of your regular manufactured items, will it generate it just for that one item, or is it going? Huh?
Yes, it is at a level. It is, you can have a mixture of special order items and your own manufactured items on the same sales order. Yep, that the special PO is at a line level. So if you were using the feature where NetSuite automatically creates the PO, what it would do is it would look for lines where this item is flagged, and if there are, say, it finds 2 lines like that and the other 3 lines are manufactured ones, for those 2 lines it will see, hey, are they with the same preferred vendor? If they are with the same preferred vendor, it will combine those 2 lines and put it on one PO. If they are from 2 separate vendors, it will generate 2 separate POs out, and each of those POs will be linked on the specific line, and it will send it out. So yeah, the manufactured items remain manufactured. It doesn't need to be a special sales order, which is only for special ordered items or anything. It's at a line level. So,
okay.
there. So you can see here, I have, let me, oh, I still haven't approved it. Sorry, I thought I approved it. So again, let me quickly approve this order. So even if it were automatically creating, it happens only after order approval, as one would want. Now that the order is approved. So now you see, because I'm manually initiating, I do see these links, by the way, which the system is telling me, hey, you have an option of doing this. Either I could do dropship or special order. The reason you see both is in NetSuite, as part of enabling the features, they don't have a separate enablement. It's really both of them are getting enabled and disabled together. So since we had to enable special order, dropship is also enabled. You'll just make sure that you're never going to use that feature. So I want to create a special PO. So I'll just click on this link. So if the item had a preferred vendor, I believe that preferred vendor would have automatically gotten populated here. But we don't really have anything, so it's just up to me to like just select the vendor. Again, this is just related to the same PO conversation that Suraj went over, so I'm not really going to go over the fields or anything, but you can just see here, because I clicked that link on that specific line, that's why it kind of shows that here. And you can put in any other information that you need. If you want any custom field for special PO, we could have that as well. And for now, I don't really have anything extra to add, so I'm just going to say, oh, sorry, I forgot that there was no rate. So give me 1 second. And if you had set up preferred, oops. So this just took me back to the sales order. I just wanted to go back to the PO. I didn't realize I didn't put a PO. So you can see here, the sales order has a linkage to the PO. So this is what I was saying. If there's a mixture of items, you'll see this link only on the items, only on those lines where you have created a special PO. Just go back to this. Again, I would think in reality, there's already like a preferred price and everything set on the item master, purchase price, but in my case, I don't, so I'm just gonna say, so with special POs, again, Suraj, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe whatever PO approval workflow that they're working on, even these will go through the same process. Do you want a different process for these? Are they not supposed to go through approval? Is there anything different about these special POs in terms of approval? They just go through the same process, right?
Yeah, they just go through the same process.
Okay. Okay. And again, you wanna, sorry, I cannot recollect. I think, do you send out POs automatically? Sorry, I'm blanking on the Wednesday session now.
No,
So,
they have an approval process.
yeah, but after it's approved, does it go out automatically, or is it manually somebody coming in and clicking email button and everything?
Right now, it's manually somebody clicking. I don't know what we've set up exactly.
Suraj, are you there?
Yeah. The manual one, that's what we have last time discussed.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what you do. So once it's approved, you come in, same process, click email, send it out. The same PDF gets sent out. So now the again, all of the process is going to be the same, right? You're going to receive it from the vendor. Again, you would be doing it the same way. You send it out to them. They when they send the item to the warehouse, again, what we saw in the procure to pay session, you'd be going into ScanGun, receiving it, posting the item receipt, and then when you receive it into like an inbound staging area. You do the posting of the receipt, and then you do the put away process. Same things that we saw on Wednesday. That's what happens. For now, I'll just do it in ERP just so that I can just show you that so for any sales order which is linked to like a special PO, you cannot, of course, fulfill the sales order until you have received the items through the PO, because that's what is linked. Again, you would not be receiving it this way. You'll be doing it in WMS. I'm just doing this for the sake of time, because it's the same process you've already seen the receiving in WMS multiple times. So I'm not going to bore you with that. So you'll be scanning the lot number. Just put it like, I don't know. So now the purchase order, you can see here it's the item receipt. So purchase order has already been received. So now if I go back to the sales order, oh, I closed it. Just go to the sales order. So you can see here the PO was received. So earlier it was pending receipt. Now the status is pending bill. It says, so now you have, give me 1 second. I think I forgot to do one thing. Sorry, my bad. I forgot to add the location on the line. Sorry, I keep forgetting that you all use line location and I keep putting it only on the header. This one too. Yeah, this one did use the header. It used the header location already. Again, when you're creating sales order, you'll just make sure to follow the process. And I know we did discuss like the whole defaulting of line location and everything, but either way, when you are reviewing it, you'll just make sure that there is a location on every line. Okay. The PO had it correctly because it sourced it. Since the line didn't have any, it took the header one anywhere, and everything went fine. So you can see here it's gotten committed. Earlier, I don't know if you observed it, it said back ordered because the PO hadn't been received yet. So once you receive the PO, really it becomes, that's when it kind of says it's committed because the PO is specifically for the sales order. It's committed. Now you're free to do the pick, pack, and ship. So like what we just saw, you release the wave, same process, pick it. Again, I know packing is still TBD as to which system, but same process, and then you ship it out in freight pop. For now, I'll just fill it out of NetSuite itself. Yeah, I don't really use a pick carton or anything because I can do it through WMS. I'm just going to leave that blank. Yeah, you can just ignore the way I'm doing it because you do it through WMS like what we just saw. Just hit this real quick. Work shipped. Again, so that's essentially the process. The remaining part of the step is still the same. You would, whenever you receive the bill from the vendor, you would be billing this. Again, that's separate. So all it needs is for you to receive the item in order to be able to ship it to the customer. The billing part doesn't really matter to the sales order. So whenever they send you the bill, just like any other PO, you'll be able to bill this. And on the sales order side, like I said, you waived it out, you shipped it, everything is done. Now the billing again is the standard process. The nightly process will pick this up as well, just like any other sales order, and it will create the invoice out. So any questions on the special order PO process?
Yeah, did you just say that until the PO has been billed or received, then we can only ship it, right?
Yeah, only if you, because it is tagged to that, right? So it has to receive there, only then it will commit the inventory, only then you can ship it. Yeah. Because you specifically ordered it from a vendor. Yep. Yeah, I was just saying you don't need to build a PO or anything for that. As long as you receive it, that's all you need to have the ability to ship this out. Yep. Any other questions? Or are we good with this process?
No, we're good with that process.
Okay. The next thing that I want to go over was the returns process. So let me use the previous sales order that I had. What was the one that I was using? SO 22. Okay, so for the returns process, so anything that has been shipped, again, if it's like a partial, just theoretically, I'm just mentioning, in realistically, maybe you only ever have returns only after you have fulfilled the entire order, but just know that from a system perspective, even if it's like partially fulfilled and partially billed only for specific items, and the other items are still awaiting shipment, you are still able to create a return for any item that you have shipped on there. So for those, you can still create a return. Though this is not really a use case here, we have shipped out everything. So we are free to they are free to return. Basically, you can take a return of both these items if you need to.
When would you do that? You would do that like if we made a mistake in the shipping?
Sorry?
You're saying we would do that if we made a mistake in the shipping, right? So with like the product is still in our building and we're doing a return?
No. I'm just saying that theoretically, NetSuite lets you get a return on an item that you have shipped, even if the sales order is not fully shipped. I just mean if 2 lines were shipped, right? Maybe the third line is going to take you another, I don't know, a month or so to really return it, or to even ship it out. You're still manufacturing it for whatever reason. And if you've already delivered the first and second line, and for whatever reason, customer has an issue with the first line and they want to send that item back, I'm saying you can still receive that. The entire order doesn't need to be shipped for you to receive the return. Yeah, that's all, if that's ever a use case. Okay. So there are multiple ways of creating a return. So if you are creating a return only for a specific transaction, right, you're not combining things across transactions, like if it's for a specific sales order or a specific invoice, if that's the only thing that the return is for, then you would go to the specific sales order and you can click the authorized return button. And if you were doing from an invoice, you will similarly have a authorized return button there as well. You see this authorized return, that's what you see. And the third way is what we were talking yesterday about, using the case transaction to kind of create a return. So I'll just show you the difference between what happens if you do it from either of those two places. If you do it from the sales order, I click authorize return. So what NetSuite will do is it will automatically pull over all the shipped items. In our case, every item was anyway shipped. So if you had like say 20 line items on the sales order, all of them were shipped, it's going to automatically pull all of these, and you will have to remove the lines if they're only returning first one and you don't want to, if this is not what they're returning, so you have to click remove. So if you had like 9 more lines like this, you have to click remove on every single thing and retain only those lines which they are actually returning. So that's what you would do if you were creating it from a sales order. Same concept if you were creating it from invoice as well. When you click that button from invoice, it literally pulls over everything from the invoice, and then you'll have to remove the lines that are not applicable for return.
What if we only want to return half of one of the line items, like we shipped 20 items? We can edit that.
Yep, this is editable.
Okay.
Yeah, you can change quantity as well.
All right.
In my case, it's just one, but yep, you're able to edit that.
All right, thank you.
Yep, no problem. So this can sometimes be cumbersome if your orders are large and they're just sending you just one single line. You just have to keep clicking remove everything. So the other way to do it is you could do it through like creating a case. So I'll just show you how it works. This was the suite app that Jason was referring to yesterday. It's a separate suite app called Return Authorization from Case that we have installed. So if this were, let me just cancel it out. I'm not creating this RMA. Let me create it with the case itself. So this is for Costco, SO22. So now I'm on the case record. I'm just creating a case. Again, this could be where you actually are talking to the customer and creating a case, or you could just create a case. You already know it's a return, and then you could do it. The case record in this case is really a medium to create the RMA in this case, really. That's what it's meant for. Not necessary that it has to go through escalation and things like that, but you can. I'll just say or SO22 or something. For now, I'm just not going to enter the other fields. You already have gone through it yesterday. I'll just click save. And this is kind of why I was saying this. No, give me 1 second. Let me just do one thing and then I'll show you. It'll make more sense. I'm just gonna recreate this case. I anyway hadn't saved it. Just want to show you one thing. Just gonna... leave it that. So just the only thing I want to show is yesterday, I know we were kind of talking about this item field. I just want to mention like this one's really a single select, and that's kind of where I was just saying that this might not have as much relevance if you are actually creating a return. In other cases, there might be, because maybe your return is for, you know, 2-3 items of that sales order, and this is really like a single select field. And that is kind of where I'm saying I don't know if this really holds much relevance. But just I'll show you in a second how it creates the RMA, but I just want to call that out. So for this, this first step is creating a case, and then you create a return from that. So I've just created a case saying it's a return. I already know it's a return for that. So then I'll click on the search transaction button. Okay. So there are filters up top, so you can change this if you're looking for specific transactions. Because once you start having a whole bunch of them, you know, you're not just going to see 2, right? You're probably going to see like, I don't know, maybe hundreds of transactions here. So you can filter by the specific date. If you're looking to create it from an invoice, you'd select this. If you're creating it from a sales order, you can filter it by this. So I'll just say I want to look at only sales orders. Yeah, it's taking time to filter this out. Okay, not sure why it's taking time to filter, but essentially this is supposed to filter out and show you only that. And then, oh, I think I might just need to click search again if I filter further. But anyways, I'm able to see whatever transaction. It's just 2 of them. I don't need to do any further filtering. So I can decide from which I want to create the RMA. I already know it's for sales order 22. So I just click on that here. Oh, sorry. Select transaction. Okay, so now it's selected that SO22, and it's now asking me, hey, are you looking to create an RMA, or are you looking to instead create like a replacement order or something? I'm looking to create an RMA, so I can just say, so here you can see, right? This gives you an explicit selection, right? So if there are 20 items on the sales order, and you know that the return is only for 1, it's very easy to kind of select it through a checkbox instead of having to have all of them and then click remove button, you know, 9 times. So I can do that, and you can see here the quantities also. You can reduce the quantity if you need to, but of course this is just 1. There's nothing to reduce. And I could click submit. So now this opens the RMA screen. It looks like, I know we went through multiple steps, but really all we did was created a case and clicked on search transaction. That's really all we did. And whatever I had selected in the previous screen, that appears here. If I want to put a memo, I believe you have, let me check. Did you send across any like return reasons or anything, Aisha, do you know?
So I think we have a list of return reasons. I'm not sure if we've sent them across. I'm working on getting the master set data that we've submitted from our team here, because I want to know exactly what we have submitted. But that being said, the problem I'm only seeing right now is the fact that number one, we have as a workflow, and I think we did talk about this as a sort of a hard rule at Eagle, unless inventory is crossing our dock, we don't actually issue the RMA. So most of 99% of our things are done by credit memos. We will just give the customer the credit. We're not going to issue the return for it. And then the second thing that I'm seeing here is the problem is that there's no lot code specified to the item that is being credited or returned.
I haven't yet done the return, right? So when I do the return, you will, or do you mean even upfront you want to say this is the specific lot number that they should return?
Upfront, we need to say that this, because what we want to do is validate when the, you know, we usually, so if we're taking it from the case, that's fine because we've done the validation, right? They've gotten the lot code, they've gotten everything. So we know that they have opened up a claim with that. And from that claim, basically, or from the case, we want to just issue the credit, which is an easy workflow, you know, which is a, you know, sort of a seamless workflow there. Now, somebody just calls and, you know, nobody calls and says, I just want to return 10 cases. it's always, I want to say 99.9% it's tied to a claim, to a case.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't like the taste. They found, that there was something in there, or, the straws were cracked or whatever. It's tied to an actual customer complaint, and then a credit will be issued for it. But people don't call and just, we return an RMA. I can probably count in the last 22 years on one hand how many times I've done that.
Yeah, we got that. I'm just showing you that in the few times that you need to do, how you create the RMA. Yeah. If it's you're issuing just a standalone credit, is that not accounting, or does customer service issue the credit?
Customer service can issue a credit.
Okay, that's typically not what we see. That's kind of what I was wondering. Okay. If that's the case, we will show that as well. Yeah, this is just for because you did say that at least at the rare times you will use RMA. That's what we have in our BRD. That's kind of why we are showing it, because you even asked for an RMA approval process. So I assumed there is a reason why we need that.
Yeah, because we didn't want people just to have RMA.
Yeah.
It has to go through an approval process because it is just so rare. And so we're not, but a credit, so sometimes people are issued, they have a certain limit that they can, they can issue the credit based on their own sort of personal, limits they've been sort of given. So maybe the manager has a $500 limit or a $1,000 limit. So if a problem happens and she just wants to issue the credit, she can do that. A customer service rep might have $100 limit or something, and she can do that. So, there's different levels that we kind of give people, because we don't want to be, if there's a problem with a food product, we're just going to take care of it and tell them to throw it away. Gotcha.
So the requirement, so we didn't really have we weren't given any dollar value based one. The RMA,
and you're not being given one. They know that but you ask customer service, they don't typically do that, but in our business we do, just because we don't want to drag this on indefinitely and have it go through an accounting process for $40 of a product.
Gotcha. So we just have it. So we just have I just want to make sure if the approval workflow requirement that we were given, that's still valid, and if you still need that. So that's the only reason I'm mentioning it. So the RMA approval process that we were given is, if it is created by like the customer service role, then the customer service manager has to approve.
Yep.
If it is by the sales user, then sales manager. And if the managers themselves are creating it, then you would be approving it for RMA. So all of this, is that still valid, even though this is going to be just, few times or whatever? It's
still valid. It doesn't change the approval process.
Gotcha. Yeah, just making sure that we're not creating something unnecessary. Okay, that is still valid. Yeah, that one's still being worked on. That's why I don't really go over that. But yeah, we do have that in place. We're trying to work on that. So coming back to this process again, I understand that this is going to be a rare process, but if they are ever returning items to you, this is how you do it. I'll just, regarding the lot number 1, give me 1 second. Let's see if I assign it here. Does it really, yeah, this is not the greatest one. This doesn't have any. I was seeing to see if it'll validate and tell me these were the ones you ever shipped out or something. So there isn't really a validation of such. It's like, you're kind of able to return anything in here. So it doesn't really have that. So that's just something to note. And since it's a rare case, like, do you even want us to come up with a process for that? Or do you want us to script some process here so they can only return what was sent to them or anything? Or is it not worth it because it's a very rare case where
it's not worth it? It's a very rare case.
That's right.
If there is an RMA, it's probably going to take 2 or 3 of us to kind of get in a room together and figure out, who's returning what and why and how much, because it is just so rare.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, so I'll just show you the native process just for the rare case that you need to use it. So I have the RMA here. This is the only one they're returning. And let's just save this. So this one, I know it's not fully implemented yet. It's just showing me an approved return. The admin, I'm just going to approve it. Okay, so now this is in a pending receipt status. So that's kind of what RMAs go through. RMA, it's always pending receipt, and then it just says pending refund after that. So the receive process, if you are, if you're ever receiving one, you could do the receipt process through WMS or ERP, but you do have the option of doing it through WMS. So I'll just quickly show you on WMS. I think I closed. Oh no, I have it here. Let me close these other windows. Give me 1 second. Do I have? It's just the one, so I should be good. 64. Sorry, Zoom keeps popping up in front of my browser. Give me 1 second. Okay, so this one is where you're receiving a return. So that's kind of why you're going under receiving. And you are receiving returns. And again, same thing. Anywhere it says scan/enter, that means if there is paperwork that was issued. Oh, let me just ask, in that rare case where you're sending the RMA, did you say you send out the RMA form thing to them or you don't?
No, we don't.
You don't, right? That's what I
We'll just issue the number to them.
Yeah, you just let
What we'll do is send the credit memo to them. They always ask for their credit memo.
Oh, okay. Credit memo you said. Let me just make a note. Yes, let me select the RMA from the list. What was that? RMA. Is that the right one? Yep. 04. Item. Like I said, there's no real validation, but I am just going to use what's that? So if you do ever, I would assume you don't really receive it in a, there's obviously some problem with it. So do you like receive it like a pending QC status or something? Is that the status you'll receive it in?
Yeah, that's
That. Okay, this is basically your, I had created a separate bin, looks like somebody deleted it, but again, it would be another type of inbound staging bin. You probably have like a returns area or something. If you do have such an area, again, it's very rare, so I don't even know if you have such an area, but if you do, you would set that up as like an inbound staging bin itself called customer returns or something, and it should show up here. Right now, I don't think we have that. So now because we have the whole posting receipt step, so similar to what we had to do with when you receive items from vendors, similar to that, you have to post the receipt of this one as well. So I got a main menu, I say receiving, say post item receipt, RMA receipt. That. Yep, sorry, post item receipt. Again, you can go back to menu and continue with your other processes. Now you see here it says pending receipt. Once I refresh the screen, as long as the data has been communicated, yeah, now you can see here it says pending refund. Again, that's just a term that NetSuite uses. I know you might not give refund. Even if you're giving credits, NetSuite just doesn't have a different terminology here in terms of status. It just says pending refund. So you can see here in the related records, you'll see the item receipt where we receive the item back in. And if so, the next step would be issuing the credit. So by the way, if it's the warehouse who does the receiving, right? So it's not that the customer service knows that. So the way they would be tracking is through their home dashboard. There is what's that called?
Yeah.
Return authorizations to refund. This should be the one. So they'd be keeping track of this to see what they really need to refund. So Once they click this, they can see that something is due for a refund. This one was the other one that I was testing. So they can just see which one they want to refund. Now let's say this is the one that they want to. When they click submit, the credit memo should open.
Sorry, what was that?
I just selected the RMA, that's all. I just said submit, and then the credit memo opened up, that's all. Sorry, was there a question?
No, I'm all good.
Okay. Sorry, what's happening? Why is it not selecting? I shouldn't have done a back. Let's see, let me reload this. Submit. It opened up the credit memo. So again, on the credit memo, it's a similar concept. Whatever that they have returned shows up here. And this is where if you, again, I don't know if you charge, I know this is a very rare use case, but just mentioning that if you did have like some restocking fee or something, ideally you would add that line on the RMA itself. But if you haven't added there and you want to add it here, you can do that as well. Typically, if people are using the concept of restocking fee, they usually set up like another charge item for restocking fee, and then they add that item. I don't think you really have any such thing. Yeah. So if you did, and then you can say, if you charge like a restocking fee of $5 or something like that, so you'll just say rate is minus, like you'll put like a -5, and so that you're only crediting them like $35 in this case. So you could do that if you wanted to. Otherwise, you just review everything here. Nothing should really change. And then you just say save. Okay. Because I went through the reminders page, it just brought me back to home dashboard. If I go to my recent records icon, I should be able to see the credit memo. Okay. So this is kind of where I was saying that credit memos don't really have a concept of approval because they are instant posting transactions. So this is kind of where we were saying that, hey, even if you were actually, I'll come back to that in a second. But any questions on this process? If you ever had a return in the, again, maybe once a year or once in 10 years, but is there any questions on this in this process?
No.
Okay. So if you, and by the way, I know you said you print this one out. I wasn't aware that we were, so I don't think we might have made any change at all. Yeah, this one we haven't changed anything at all. So if you are going to use credit memo, then we'll make sure to include that also in the list of PDFs that we need to clean up and send you. I don't think we have a, we'll take a look at the list of the transactions that we already have samples for you. If it is there, we'll modify this as well accordingly, and we'll send this across to you. So Jason, Suraj, just make a note of credit memo PDF as well. So the other use case that you said, so this is the rare one. The other use case where you said where 99% of the time you are just crediting them. So if you might not recollect, but when we were talking about this on-site, what we were suggesting is there is no, if you're directly assigning a credit memo, right? Like there is no, like it just, there's no reminder there, right? Nothing is going to pop up saying pending refund or anything because there is no memo. Probably all you have to be able to track it is maybe you're looking at specific case types to know that there is like a credit pending. So often what we suggest is even though you are, and especially if you want that credit to go through some sort of an approval process, right? Because credit memos don't have an approval process in NetSuite. These are instant posting. There's no workflow that can be set up for this. So what we often suggest to clients is you can still use an RMA, but use like that other charge item, right? You're not going to use an inventory because you're not bringing inventory back in. Like even if you were issuing a standalone credit for them, you would use some kind of a item here. Probably like another charge item called as standalone credit, or it could be called anything, right? You could set up a whole bunch of other charge items. You could say, this is the item that I'll use if it's for quality issues. This is the item if it is just, some other issues. So you are free to do it either way, either have a whole bunch of different other charge items or use like a single other charge item and maybe use like a reason. It just depends on how much tracking you really need, but it's going to be another charge item so that it doesn't impact your inventory, because all you're doing is crediting them. Shouldn't impact your inventory in any way. It's just a amount. So what I was saying is, if you still want to have an approval process and have some control over who's issuing how much credit, it would still be a good idea to use a RMA followed by a credit, right? So it's an RMA not for an inventory item, but on RMAs you can use the other charge items. So you'd still create a RMA the way I showed you, and instead of having that item, you could just have another charge item really, and then so that it still goes.
The problem that I have, the problem that I have with that is generally when we do the credit. So if a credit is, customer sends an email to say, hey, we received the shipment, 9 cases damaged, please issue a credit. So we go and we issue the 9 cases damaged to that credit, but we actually assign it to the GL account for that category of item. So I think a generic item for credit is going to be used, and on the RMA side is going to be difficult because while necessarily the credit memo currently in our current process doesn't reflect the specific item, it does the account to which that item came out of. So, so if it was straws, it goes to the straws. If it was syrups, it goes to the beverage category. And so I think that, credit memos, while you can post them immediately, most of the time there is an internal process where accounting will take a look at it and then make sure it's applied to the right GL account.
Okay, yeah, in NetSuite, standalone credits don't usually have, so are you affecting the item, or are you, like, is it supposed to affect the margin of the item or anything, or is it just supposed to?
Yeah. We currently have it hitting our sales our sales GL account because it's
not about the item or anything. So it's just supposed to hit a specific account. That's it. Not that it should hit.
Correct.
Okay. Not that it should hit the margin of a specific item or something. Okay. Okay.
Well, it's not hitting the margin of the specific item because Great Plains doesn't let you do that, right? A credit memo is just a generic credit memo, but we at least are. Okay, so if it's the same in NetSuite, we just need to, accounting needs to just go in and change the GL account for the particular item that's being credited, but without specificities on the item. When we do an RMA, typically that has been the inventory one, so it touched books, and so it is specific to that item coming back into our door with this particular lot code, and then. Yeah, sometimes we, on the rare occasion may have that restocking fee or whatever, but, that's not, that's the smaller of the problems. The bigger one is the credit memo assigned to a GL account at the time of before it's posted.
Yeah, you could, so that's still, I don't think that's still an issue, even if you use like the RMA process. Because that account which it hits, because RMA is non-posting transaction, right? That's just something I was just suggesting in terms of control of approval. That's all. That doesn't really impact what GL it hits. What GL is hit all depends upon the item that you use on the RMA, whether you're using just directly a credit memo or a RMA plus credit memo. It depends on the item, and it hits the GL only when you issue the credit. So what I was saying is, for a standalone, you're obviously not going to use the La Fiesta. If you use a standalone item and you want it to hit, I would assume you have different sales categories, right? Your different credit memos probably hit maybe 8 different accounts, right? So you could still have 8 different other charge items, which are coded to those specific accounts that it needs to hit to. So, if I have one for sales, let's just say my other charge is, other charge return-sales or something like that. We'll call that other charge item for now. And then that is going to hit, like if you wanted to hit 4010, you will set that account on that item, on that other charge item, so it can still hit the account that you need.
So that's all right, I get that.
Charge item.
The quick, how can I run then a report to say, okay, in the last month, we've had credit memos issued against this item. We've had 45 cases issued against this item, right? Maybe like credit memos have not allowed me to really capture the mistake or the issue, because a lot of times we're not going to take so here's the thing. Once a beverage product leaves our door, right? We have a really hard time trying to accept that back because now that food product has been out of our possession. So we don't feel comfortable taking it back and sending it to someone else. So when the warehouse makes a mistake, for example, and they misship a product, right? They ship the wrong item or this or that. Is there a way? I've not been able to, in the last so many years with Great Plains, be able to track the misships against a specific item or the credit that's being issued against an item on an aggregate basis or monthly, quarterly. So I can say, well, you know, the inventory on these items is definitely going to be wrong because they keep misshipping it or they, you know, there's something fundamentally wrong. We have a hard time getting to the root cause of why we misship sometimes, or even how much of an item we are misshipping.
Yeah, so since we are using like an other charge item, you don't really have that tracking here, but we could still have like a custom field where you specify what the actual item is that because of which you're issuing the credit. So we could have that as well as you'll have a credit reason, right? So quality and all those things. So I feel like with a mixture of that, you should be able to report and say, okay, in the last two, you know, we could have another field for, you know, even like quantity of that item, right? Because this quantity is really only about this one. If you wanted, you can even use this one, but I would just say it would make more sense if you have a custom field to say, you know, what was the quantity, what was the item that was sent out, right? So we can have custom fields. You can just report that. Yeah, you can certainly do that.
Okay. So we would like that because that's been a real issue for us over the years. You know, and every once in a while we'll go out and calculate, okay, this customer is always claiming 6 cases, 3 cases, 8 cases damage, but no, in the grander scheme of things, it's less than 0.5% of the total volume that we're shipping. But we say that's okay. But you know, other customers that do that regularly, we want to be like, okay, well, what is this issue? Why are they always complaining about something?
Gotcha. Yep, we can certainly do that. We can have those fields, and yeah, if you provide us those the reasons as well, the return reasons and not return the credit reasons on top.
Credit reasons, yeah,
the credit reasons. So that should help. Yeah, so I think this is doable still with, so you can control that with other charge item, like I was saying, the account. So you can create as many other charge items that you need, as many different accounts that it needs to hit as part of credit. I would assume that's probably like, you know, based on your category. So I don't think it's going to be a huge number, but that's how I would suggest setting up the number of credit items. And they would be other charge for sale items. So you just create as many as you need. You can probably make the name meaningful enough so that, you know, they know which one to select at what time. So coming back to my other previous point, do you like I was saying, right, there's no control of approval in the credit memos. So would you want to do like an RMA with that other charge item so that it's still approved before somebody issues a credit memo, or you're okay to trust them and just have them create the credit memo for whatever amount? Because we can't have an approval process directly on credit memo. So that's why I was suggesting the workaround of just creating an RMA, put the other charge item on there. There's no receiving or anything involved. And then somebody approves it. Only after it's approved can you issue the credit memo against it. So do you want that?
Yeah, so I will do that. I will do that for general public, and then I'll let Chad in accounting use credit memos because he can write off credit memos when he has to do his stuff. So yeah, so we'll do that. I'll leave the credit memo for accounting, and general public will use RMA.
Gotcha. So when you say the general public, are they still going to just do the RMA part and then Chad will issue the credit, or are they going to do both? Okay, they're going to issue the credit as well. Gotcha.
They'll issue the credit, but at least it has the approval process. So they can still do that. But I think from defining that who's doing what, then credit memos will just be an accounting function. If in case he has to reconcile or adjust something, he can just do that on his end.
Gotcha. Yeah. And he can always review the credits even though people have issued. He can periodically, probably every week, see what credits are being issued. So he still has some post control over it, even though it's not a pre-control. Gotcha.
Correct.
Let me just make a quick note. Okay, let me just take a look. So that was about returns. Is there anything else for us to cover on returns? Are we good there? But returns, credits. You don't really issue a refund, right? I think you said you never really issue a refund. It's always just a credit on the account, right?
There's only, yeah, I mean, it's very, very, very rare for a refund for us to actually write somebody a check. So we usually just apply it to their account.
Yeah, yeah. So just know
They
that
will issue a refund on credit cards. So sometimes if they have to, but I also want to say that that's probably one refund.
Your voice was breaking, Aisha. Did you just say it's a rare thing? Is that what you said? Oh. Hello? Oh, can you hear me, Aisha?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, now I can hear you. Yep, I don't know. Your voice was breaking for me for some reason earlier.
So I mean, Cynthia, how many times do you have to reissue a refund on a credit card?
Very rare.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Okay, yeah, you can just know that I'm assuming that's probably, since you said it's a rare chance, I'm just letting you know that it's available on the credit memo. This is where if you click refund, then it opens a customer refund transaction and you can kind of refund them.
Yeah.
But it's a rare case, so I'm not really going over it, but just know that the option exists. And applying open credits to your invoices and everything, I would assume that is not something customer service does, right? I would assume that's a chat thing when accepting payments.
That is a Cynthia thing. And so,
okay.
So here's the interesting thing. Customer service will get their notice that something has gone wrong with a shipment and they want a credit for it. Typically, they will put in a credit memo. They will, put in $50, let's just say, and they will actually go through sometimes and assign it to the invoice for that customer. They may not post it. It may still go to accounting for posting, but they will go through and do and assign it to an invoice. Cynthia will apply payments to an invoice. So she will, customer service will never do that. Cynthia will do that. And between Cynthia and Chad, they'll apply a GL account for a particular credit. So one of my point is that it's a bit murky because customer service does have a finger in the pie of applying a credit to an invoice, but they have no finger in the pie to applying payments to invoices.
Gotcha. So if you're applying, I know you mentioned one, like the former part of it where you apply credits to invoices. I feel like you said there's like a two-step process in Great Plains. Is it like they apply it and then somebody else posts it when they're applying credits to invoices? Is that a two-step process?
It's just it's a made up two-step process sometimes. So it's our workflow. It's nothing like it's no approval section or scripted section in Great Plains.
Okay, because it's a single step in NetSuite. Once you apply it, instantly posts. So there isn't really like, hey, I applied it, but it's not posted. Like, so it has to be one person doing it. It's either accounting or it's Cynthia or whoever it is. Whoever does it, it just instantly posts, by the way, like when I apply a credit to an invoice. Like there's no two-step.
And you can't stop that?
You can't stop
save
that.
You cannot save that transaction. Okay.
No, it's not like a draft saving or something. Once you apply it, it's just an application screen and you're just applying it. That's it. So that's why I was saying, usually I've always seen 99% of the time accounting do it. So that's why I was a little surprised in your org. It's a little different. So that's why I just want to make sure we know who's doing it because it's a single step process.
So the reason
go ahead, Cynthia, sorry.
Karen knows, typically customer service knows what invoice is being credited. So they have the ability to have created the credit memo and apply it to the invoice. The check balance is they don't have the GL code to apply the credit to. So they stop what they're doing and give it to accounting so that we can allocate it to the correct GL code. This is why accounting posts the credit memos and customer service does not. We want to have
NetSuite. Yeah, let me interrupt you there. In NetSuite, there's no concept of applying it to a GL code or anything because all the coding is on the item record itself, right? Like you don't need to do anything. If you have the invoice number, so like this is an open credit, say this for you were applying this, you don't need to know any GL code to actually apply it in NetSuite. All you need to know is which invoice am I applying it to. So if I go to the apply tab, it'll show me all the open invoices. And if I know that it's the INV09 that I have to apply it to, I just apply it. So that's why in NetSuite, it's like just a single process. You don't need to know any.
And the apply is also equal to the posting. So
Yes.
that will be a change in our process, which then Cynthia will, me and Chad will discuss next week when he's back. Because that's going to be a bigger part of that.
Yes, that is correct. So once you apply it, yeah. So right now the invoice says the way someone would know how it's been applied is initially it says it's open. So it's open right now. I apply it and I click save. Like even the credit memo earlier, I forgot to mention, if you had seen the status here was open. Once it has been applied, it will say fully applied and it'll show you where it's applied. And if I go to the invoice, so the invoice, that $40 was not enough to cover the entire one. You can see only $40 got applied, right? That's not the entire one. So this is still going to stay open, but it'll have that applied. So you can see here the amount due kind of reduced and says 42. So that's how, and it's linked here. If you go under related records, you can see, okay, what reduced to 42? Oh, it was this credit memo that I used. So that's why you can see it's a single step process. And you did say, Aisha, that the payments are not taken against invoices by Cynthia or anyone in customer service, right? That is still a Chad thing, correct?
Well, it's Cynthia's thing. She applies the payment.
Oh, sorry, is Cynthia part of Chad's team? Sorry, I'm
yeah, Cynthia's in accounting. So
gotcha.
So she, so you have accounting represented here.
Okay.
And so Cynthia will apply payments and she'll look to see, but what I need to go back to this because the case has been open. Some amount of corrective or root cause analysis has been done on an open case because we've assigned the time frames to them, 1 to 3 days, 7 to 10 days, whatever the heck it is. So we've applied that. They've closed the case. Now they would need to apply the credit for that, or whether or not that is mutually exclusive. We're going to apply the credit separately. But typically, my philosophy has always been get to the bottom of the problem, then apply the credit. This would say they can take their time to get to the bottom of the problem. Cynthia, as soon as she knows that there's a problem, she might just be credit happy and just keep applying credit. So I have to figure out how there's a stopgap somewhere in there, right? That, accounting just doesn't go and apply credits before we've actually ascertained whether or not it's our fault.
Gotcha.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
So I'll need to think about this one and we'll need to come up with, there just has to be one check balance somewhere that says, okay, that's what can stop this from at least Eagle is saying that, yes, we are at fault. We've made the mistake. We accept it. You can have a credit, before accounting just goes credit happy and just posts, just applies all these credits or applies to an invoice somewhere.
I have a question. Once the credit is approved or, you hit that.
There is no approval. It's just not apply. That's all.
Well, once she applies it and it says fully applied, does an email go out to the customer or no?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. We can check.
Can you reverse it?
Yeah, you can, if you click on, I believe you click on edit. I think this is where you should be able to unapply it. Click this. I believe it should remove the linkage and open that back up. Yeah, this is open. Let me just verify it on the invoice as well.
How long do you have to reverse it?
As long as the period is open. It's not like a time frame or anything. If the period is open, then you are able to do this. If the period is closed, you won't see any of these edit buttons. The period doesn't auto close. I know we haven't gone through it. It's part of a record to report on Tuesday, but it's a manual process. System does not auto close or anything. It's up to you when you as a process as to when you close each period.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. System will keep it open forever if you don't manually close the period. We'll go through it further on Tuesday session, but yeah, system's totally okay keeping entire 10 years open if you want. So it's more of a process where you follow and make sure you close your period every month, by the 15th of the next month, whatever process you want to follow. Yeah, so you saw the unapply process, so it's really just coming to credit memo and just unchecking that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we will table that for future thought.
Gotcha. Okay. Any other questions on this returns and credits process? Or did we cover everything?
I think it's good.
Okay. The last thing that I wanted to show you in today's session, if there are just probably a couple of accounting things. I didn't realize you had an accounting representative, but either way we had to end at 10 today anyways, since you have the other session. So just a couple of other things like deposits and everything, we can just cover it on Monday's session, which can probably be a much shorter session than what we have right now. I think right now it's like an hour and a half. I think we already went through invoices and everything, so we can probably shorten Monday's call. So I'll take a look at that so that you get some of your time back.
Yeah, that's why I told you didn't have to worry too much, because even though Chad wasn't here, I knew that Cynthia was.
Yeah, we had already rearranged by then, but either way, we had only 2.5 hours, so I don't know if we could have covered any more of those. Probably needed another 30 minutes to probably cover those. So yeah, no worries.
Okay.
Yep, we didn't lose any time today, so we're good. So regarding the sales reports, most of them, again, when you come to the reports section, there's this expand all and collapse all, in case you haven't observed that. So if you expand all, like the reports are kind of segregated by section, by like their functionality. So financial has its own section. Again, as an admin, you see everything. Of course, when you're in specific roles, you only have access to specific reports that your role should have access to. It can be controlled, but I'm an admin. So if you are looking at sales reports, you're really looking at the ones under the sales section, and then there's some under the sales order section. I believe that's pretty, yeah, and then there are a few here as well, customer/receivable. So as the name states, everything here is, at a customer level. So if you see like, let's just say sales, there's one, like customers by sales rep, everything is really at customer. And then I know you were asking about this, I think the customer profitability report. So you have that one as well. The revenue, the profit and everything, it shows you there. Again, you can customize any report like, Jason was talking about yesterday. You click the customize button and you can change it. And then you have some AR reports as well here. So the difference between the sections, which is sales and sales order report, typically you will see data in the sales report. Even though it says sales, it's really driven off of it only after you have invoiced, because you receive revenue only after you have invoiced. So in most of these reports, I'm pretty sure it's every report, but at least most of these reports, they're all driven by invoices. So if it is something just at a sales order level, you haven't shipped it out or something, you might not really see it in here. Whereas sales order report is just driven by sales orders, it's just telling you what's the sales order. So this one will still show you, even if, no matter what the status of the sales order is, it can still show that. So that's kind of the main difference between the two sections. But yeah, you can certainly review these and see how much of your reporting needs are satisfied by the native ones, plus by clicking like, you click customize, and then, you can add columns and things like that. So like if I just hit customize here, you have like these edit columns. Either you can edit filters, you can do whatever. So just know that in general in reports, whatever you see, it is driven off of the way this section is in the left is depends upon how the backend table is organized. That's why you just see it this way. So you'll have to, the report customization in NetSuite is truly a trial and error method, to be honest. That's just how it is. To find fields is very often like, you might find a whole bunch of fields which have the similar name, and then it's really trial and error. You look at it and be like, okay, this is not the right one. And then, you just kind of figure out what the right field you want is. It's just that with experience, you just get more instinctive about which one it is likely is the right one. but it's really trial and error at the end of the day. And what you can often do is, if there is an existing report that you're customizing, right, it'll show you that your existing columns that NetSuite is already providing you as to which table they come from. If I click on this, you see here in blue, it kind of says, okay, this came from the customer project database table here. If I click on this, it says this came from the booking table, right? So when I'm adding further, I can figure out, okay, this came from here, so I likely need to add it from the bookings and so on, right? So it's all just trial and error. So that's how you edit the columns. And then again, we'll have another session probably closer to go live about report customization and everything, but just letting you know now in case you want to do something. This one is all about the filters that you saw at the bottom. I'll show you that again if someone didn't observe, but this is where you select what filters you want visible. Then you have some sorting, and then you've got more options. Sorry, I didn't submit. Yeah, you can just kind of make it public. You can give access to other people as well to your report, or if it's just something for you, you don't have to give access. It's just your own report, and then you can save, you can preview it, and you have some options here on these mathematical formulas as well. So just know that that's how you do it. And the filters that I was talking about, by the way, it's the filters at the bottom here. These filters, this is what I was trying to customize, and I could add additional filters. So anytime you put a filter in, if I change this data, just know that it's not automatically going to reflect the data. You need to click this refresh button at the bottom. That's kind of when it shows up. And then like with other reports, you have certain options to kind of download it. If you want to manipulate it in Excel, you have all those options. And then, these are like, this is called like expand all, collapse all. You have certain buttons here as well. You can email it out. So a whole bunch of options with reports that you can explore. And this is pretty much common, whether it is like a sales report or purchasing report. These are pretty much common buttons that you would see. Same concept of customization and so on. Any questions on this?
No.
Yeah, especially with reports, we would say, we don't want to start off creating custom reports and everything. It's always a good idea if you could just explore the reports in there and then see if it can, it might give you the same data, but in a different form. So we'd like for that to be explored before we create any, custom reports for all of this. Okay, we are at time. So unless somebody does anyone have any last questions? No. Okay.
I guess not.
Yeah, Aisha?
Yeah.
I see that you have, or Josh mentioned that you have a design to build session for the next hour. I was able to move my your 11 p.m. meeting to accommodate. So if that time works for you, 11 a.m. instead of 10:30, so that way you can do the full design to build with Jackie.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you. I couldn't tell if it was a half-hour meeting or whatever, but I was going to take your time slot, so I appreciate that.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we'll get on with Jackie now and just see how that goes. But all right. Well, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Have a good rest of the day. Bye.